don't know who's this. What?
Upside down.
I don't know who has this laptop, but I think it's the official one.
Yes, it should be the official one.
Yes, but I don't have the password.
Oh, okay.
Does someone
try to bring mine?
No, we already have someone running.
Sorry, do you need the password?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's not difficult. It's
My
like
password.
It's like our alarm. If you come to Italy, you can enter our office with this password. Okay.
Well, maybe we should wait a bit because we are a bit ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I will just transfer.
In the meantime, if you want to ask something, even if it's not related to, we can start some discussion in 5 minutes. So again, GeoSolutions. Who would have imagined?
we are feeling the conference. Do you know to go full screen? I don't know Spanish too much. Or Portuguese.
Probably this one.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know Portuguese, but completo is completo.
Right. Okay, so we wait a little bit?
We are 10 minutes ahead, so maybe we should wait in case someone wants to change rooms.
Sure.
Store.
We don't have too much fantasy with our names. It's everything like Geo, server, maps, store.
It's clear what they are. People are already leaving.
Probably.
This is not what it used to be.
This is what happens when you are the last one.
Well, now we have last keynote or
Yeah,
plenary
the
or
closing.
whatever, but yes.
This is the last technical session, let's say.
We are just way ahead. You know, if you want to start.
Yeah, I can start. I can go slow.
Okay, so we are going to start slowly with here, Mauro Bartolomeoli, talking about Map Store 2, the story.
Yeah. She told my surname very, very well, so I'm happy about that. And this is the real last session. Are you happy about that? Are you tired? I hope not to be too boring, because I am a developer, so I tend to be boring sometimes if I talk about software. And we will talk about software, but since I knew I was the last one in the last day of conference, I thought about my presentation yesterday and I decided to rewrite it basically, as we say as developers, to refactor it a little bit, trying to be a little more, less sleeping, let's say. So I tried to write a story, the Map Store 2 story, and today I want to tell it to you. This is the idea. It's a story about an idea that, through a lot of hard work, became finally real. It's not a poem, but it has rhymes in it. It was not intentional. And it is also the story of me falling in love with a piece of software called Mapster, eventually too. This is my family, GeoSolutions. Probably you have known some of them in these days, because we basically are probably the company with the most number of presentations in this conference. So you probably heard some of them. This morning, for example, my Portuguese colleague gave one about GeoServer. As I said, we are many, and we are like a family. Not the classical Italian family in the mafia way, but we are a family. We try to do things together. It's not always easy. We try to collaborate, we sometimes fight for our ideas, and sometimes we have to do compromises. But at the end, I would say we win. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story, because we are late, and I would try to make this story sleep you well. So it's a nice story, in my opinion. As I said, it's the story of a piece of software, and this is the first day of the newborn. It was July 2015. 3 years passed since then, and this is his initial cry, the first commit that I did on the 20th of July. She was a newborn, but I was already proud of her. She already had unit tests, building and deploying configuration, and some simple documentation. And it was simple. A joy to kiss. Kiss like keep it simple, stupid. I don't know if you know the acronym. Because simplicity was one of the initial ideas. We would like to make something simple. Not just for the users, or not especially for the users, because as today keynotes pointed out, sometimes being too easy to use is not really a good thing, but it needed to be simple for us to work with, because we had the knowledge to work with it, and we needed to make something that we could handle easily. And this is the time I heard her first word. It was leaflet. At the time, she could only say that word, but it was really a joy to hear it. After a while, well, indeed 99 pull requests later, she learned another word. It was a little bit slow to learn, but at the end, it did its work. She learned the new word that was open layers, and after that, nobody could stop her anymore. She learned a lot of things, like this one. Okay, now, after a lot of trying and failing, she was able to do this. This is the only piece of code we will see during this presentation, I promise. We won't see any code. Just to show you that it was simple to do these kind of things, obviously something like a map. A long time has passed since that 100 pull requests where she learned to do the first things, but you can still do the same thing on her with a simple URL parameter. You can switch between different mapping libraries. Because I didn't told you, but the initial idea was to have something that made you build your maps in an agnostic way without having to worry about the mapping library that you want to use, either Leaflet, OpenLayers, Cesium.js, or anything else. We wanted to have something that would allow us to switch between different mapping libraries in a simple way. So keep it simple, stupid means I would like to switch, to change my mind without having to redo my work. We want freedom to change our libraries if we need to do it. Okay, this time is kindergarten. She learned to build her first custom application. This is the first application she built. And at the time, she liked Lego blocks so much, of many different sizes and colors, so we had to buy her a lot of them, and we call them the components that are still a good part of it. And I also took her to many different places in these 3 years. We went to Germany after about a year. When she was just 1 year old, I presented her to OSGeo Europe in Bonn. And then we went to France at the 2017 OSGeo Europe. As you may see, OSGeo Europe is a place where she liked to be every year, basically. And we also went to the United States, Boston in particular, and also Italy, where that is her home country, because I like her to see the world and be known by many people, if possible. And many people learn to love her from Europe, America, and also China. This is cutting a little bit at the slide, so you are missing another translation at the bottom that is Chinese. We received many contributions, especially for languages, but not only for that. So many people is working with her around the world. And we were very surprised with, for example, Chinese and also Croatian. Then she was growing, and I built her a playground where she could meet new friends and play with them. And they called themselves, they chose a nickname, they called themselves the plugins. Here, some of her friends. This is Mapstore, and these are some of the friends of the plugins. It's not that beautiful to see, but she is just a child. She didn't care at the time about being pretty, for example, but as she grew up, she wanted to be more pretty for the users, in this case. She was already princess for me, but it was not enough for her. So she started using cosmetics at that time. CSS less for women that do not have to ask. And this is before and then after the cure. And she grew up again, and she started liking, as every man knows, women like shopping, This is sort of shopping, it's not the real. Women prefer shopping, but. And this is another way she learned to live, writing some list, we will call it configuration, buy something, assemble it, and ta-da. She was able to create new things. And this is another way to use this kind of software. The first way was using code, we won't see it. The second one is writing configuration and using the capabilities of the software itself, just giving some instructions, some basic instructions on what we exactly want to do. And we can build something new, very, very simply, like you do when you buy something with IKEA. You go home, and in a couple of hours, you have something that resembles the original drawing from the manual. Okay, let's go on. The girl becomes a young adult, and she has many friends. We call them the contributors. You can see some of them in this list. I am one of those, but I'm not the first one. There are other people that are loving her, and so they started to fill her life. But I'm still part of her life. For example, I am the first one who tries to clear the mess after her when it's needed, because sometimes she does something wrong and someone needs to tell her. As you can see here, my contributions to her education are not only additions, something that I teach, but sometimes I have to remove things because I go back to the KISS acronym to keep things simple. Sometimes you have to decide that something is not needed and remove it. You have to clean up. From time to time, you have to take some time to clean up if you don't want your little girl to become messy. There was another thing here. I don't know if I can zoom it a little bit down. The sentence, it's always difficult to follow the KISS principle, but we have to try. Well, this is only part of the story, of course, but if you are interested, you can ask me more about it and try to learn a little bit if you have the interest in it. I usually said in these slides, come to our desk and talk to me, but since this is the end of the conference, probably you won't have time. So you have to come to Italy, unfortunately, to meet us. It's a nice place. We are in Tuscany, near Pisa, Florence, the sea, the mountains, everything like that. It's a nice place to live and to visit. And if you can, give her a little bit of love too. Well, this is the URL where you can look at the software. We didn't look at the software too much today because I wanted to give you some interest without boring that much, but we will see something of what she can do. But this is the website where you can go if you want to go deeper in detail to know about the software itself, herself. Some final credits. So what you can do, you can do mapping software, of course. This is all about mapping. And you can use different themes, the set of cosmetics that I bought her some time ago. And you can build your own and give a present to her with a new set of theme. But we continuously work to improve the look and feel of the product. We have a website dedicated to mockups where you can see the new improvements that we are going to release before they are even started to be implemented. These are some of the things that we developed recently. For example, the ability to have charts and different kind of widgets on top of each map. And also the ability to build geo-dashboard, we call them this way. It's, let's say, a portal where the map is not essentially the main thing, because usually all the screenshots that you have seen so far are maps with something inside. In this case, we have a generic portal where the map is just one of the building parts, but then we can have other parts that are combined together to build a geo-dashboard where you can use maps, but also charts and other kinds of contents. We also have editing capabilities, so a complete feature editor, both for geometries and alphanumerical data. If I scroll down a little bit, we added the capability to add annotations, so to add your own things on the map, like markers, but also different kind of geometries to comment something, to share comments between different people, stuff like that. And something that we have seen also in the last presentation, like the ability to create thematic maps, we call it, but it's very similar to choropleth maps, so the ability to classify data and have a classification drawn directly on the map. I will also show some of the products that are built using MapStore functionalities. This is the first product that was developed using MapStore, so 3 years ago. Then other ones, you may see that probably that they are very different one from the other, both in the look and feel and in the functionalities, because one of the main ideas, together with agnosticity, was the fact that we wanted it to be extremely open, so that you could build basically everything that has a map in it. If you want, using all the tools that we give together with the basic framework, but eventually doing a complete customization or building your own tools, adding to the map and building your own application, very different from the standard one. This is something that is close to the standard one. This one, as you can see, is quite different, also in the look and feel. Other examples, there are products that are not, let's say, developed by us. This is an example. This is using MapStore 2, but is a software by a completely different company that use it to build a map publisher starting from QGIS. So you can publish a map directly from a QGIS project, and you will have the web application with the same kind of data, styles, and stuff like that. And it uses MapStore 2 as the rendering engine, let's say. But also this one is quite different in the look and feel from our standard one. So it's really open. Everyone can use it and build his own application. I know that on Tuesday another application was presented by another company that was contributing to the main project and using MapStore 2 for their projects in Belgium. And other projects here, just to show the ability to make different things. Okay, let's have a quick look at the future. We hope that it will be a bright future. If you love her, it will be, so try to. There are not too many things that I want to say for the future, just a couple of them. The first one is the integration with GeoNode. You may know, if you know GeoNode as a product, you may know that it has its own map viewer and composer based on GeoExplorer. We are now building an alternative based on MapStore 2 with the same and improved functionality. So we are completely integrating MapStore 2 as a possible client for GeoNode. And with the same kind of effort, we are also building a new backend based on Python instead of the current one that is based on Java. So we are going to a more modern approach with the languages. We will not throw away the Java backend, but we will add a new one. This is the way we like to work, like we did with mapping libraries, where we wanted to work both with Leaflet, OpenLayers, and then with Cesium and stuff like that. We want to have choices in the backend. From the start to now, we only had a Java backend, but it's a lot of time we are experimenting with GeoNode and Python. So in real, we already have some implementation of the backend in other languages. We are making them public in the next month. Then we are trying to document a little bit more, but as Victor said today, we don't have to document that much, so we are good at that. We don't document that much. Basically, because we don't have time, we would like to do a little bit more. So every year I say we will have more documentation, hoping that someday it will happen for real. Then we are trying to put MapStore in the cloud so that you won't need to install locally, but you will be able to use our services to publish your own maps, in this case with the standard product, not with your own custom application. If you need your custom application, use the standard way, download the product, customize it, deploy it, and do it. If you just need to publish maps and use the functionality of MapStore 2, then we hope to have a cloud solution early. Then we will for sure add more plugins and more components, but essentially what we want to know, because at this time I think we are mature. It's been 3 years from the beginning of the project, and software, in my opinion, is like animals. 3 years in software is not like 3 years for humans, but is a lot more. So after 3 years, we are at the point where we need to decide what to do when we will be adults. So, and we are confused about that. We don't know exactly what to do. So we need your opinion about the current direction. If you are already using MapStore 2, or you will have the opportunity to try it, what you want from MapStore 2. As someone said in the past, don't ask yourself what MapStore 2 can do for you, but tell us what you can do for MapStore 2. Here, some resources. These slides, I think, will be published early, so don't care to copy the links, because they will be online. Some documentation, tutorials. The documentation that there is, you can use it. Ask for more, please, so that we decide to do it. This is both documentation for people who wants to just take the product, configure it a little bit and use it, but also for developers that want to go deep and try to do wonderful things with MapStore. And eventually, I have finished. So I think there is time for questions. Thank you.
Any questions?
I have two questions. Please.
Oh, go.
If I have a projected coordinate system that I just want to use it straight away in browser, is it easy in MapStore to do it?
If you have a project.
Projected coordinate system, so it's not a web marketer, it's a,
Yeah.
a local projection system that I want to see reflected.
Let me see if I can find the right slide for you. Maybe this one. I don't have it here, but yes, the first product that we did was particularly tough because it's a product where the customer wanted maps in at least 30 different coordinate systems where you can switch between them with a simple menu option. So the answer is yes, you can do it. It's very easy. You have just to configure the coordinate system that you want to use. You just have to limit yourself to using open layers, because something that I have not said, but this is the time probably, obviously you can choose between the different mapping libraries, but since they are not equivalent, Leaflet cannot do the same things as open layers and vice versa. They have their specificity. There are some things that the mapping library can do and something that cannot do. For example, if you want to use advanced projections, we always use open layers, but you have just to configure MapStore to use open layers, and then you are good to go. We have many examples.
For second question, why not changing for Python backend? Why not use something more performant like Go language or something like that?
Well, mainly because it's, in this case, it's most a commercial decision. It's not made by developers. Python is one of the most used languages nowadays for these kind of things, especially in the GIS field. So it's easy for us to find developers who can work in Python. It's very known around. And also, since we wanted to integrate with existing solutions like GeoNode, the one that I presented, and GeoNode is developed in Python, it was the easiest thing to do to go to the mainstream in this case. So we went for Python.
Thank you.
I have also a question about the decision to go for a second option for your backend, like you said. Isn't there the risk that you will, are you going to stop with the Java version? And if not, how are you going to take care that you don't create two versions of the same product?
Well, there is one thing that made me think that we are not going to do that. And it's that the backend that is inside MapStore 2, it's not a real full-fledged backend. It's just a set of 2 or 3 services that do some simple things, and they are basically not improved for many time. There are, let's say, 3 or 4 services included with MapStore 2 that are storing services, where you can store your maps and everything you build with the standard application. Is a form of storage used by a REST API. Then there is a simple proxy to be able to do cross-origin requests. I think you need proxy for these kind of things in every solution that you want to build. So we have an internal one, but you can switch it with any proxy that you like. And then we have an internal security system, just for, in this case, simple things. If you don't want to use, or you don't have your security solution, we give you a simple one. And then the last thing that we integrated recently is the printing service. To generate printed maps in PDF, we usually delegated in the past to GeoServer and its internal plugin. We decided to take this one, that is the Mapfish printing service, and integrate it directly into MapStore, so we don't have to delegate to GeoServer something that we can do internally. But these are the only services that are included in the standard backend, because obviously in this kind of products, I think if you need a backend to implement your own kind of services, you will develop in any language that you like. So the real MapStore backend is so simple that the Java version will continue to work because we are not improving it that much.
Sorry, just one question. So in these 3 years of the project, is it been, the contributions have been just by GeoSolutions, or do you also get other contributors to the
We
project?
had some. I would like to receive more. I know that there is people using the project. I think one of the difficulties is that it's not easy to start developing in MapStore 2. So I want to thank the people that is doing it. And this is one of the reasons why I continuously repeat, let's make it simple, because as one project, every project, I think, as they grow, they tend to become more complex. So it's more difficult for new people to come and start developing with it. I will try to make it simple as in the beginning, but now it's not that simple. So the contribution have arrived. For example, the project from the Belgian people contributed back some code. We had some other contribution from the company that developed the QGIS-based publisher. We received translations, and we receive bug issues, stuff like that. I would like people to contribute more, but that's not in my control. For the moment, we are the 99% contributors, let's say.
One more question about the user authentication system and integrating with an LDAP or some method of authentication for enterprise or internal authentication.
Well,
how does MapStore behaves in those environments?
Yes, our system is, as I said, a Java basic implementation of authentication and authorization rules, but it is based on a common Java technology that is Spring and Spring Security. And it's configurable, so you can basically switch the implementation of authentication, mainly, to every Spring-based solution that exists. We have many customers that use LDAP or the Microsoft implementation, so Active Directory, or other systems like CAS, single sign-on systems in general, OAuth, OpenConnect, and stuff like that. The library allows to make it configurable, so you can switch to anything that Spring Security allows.
So, unless there's a very short question, we should close now the last session. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone.